Hmm. Actually, speaking of phones, what do you think of like Nintendo moving into the mobile phone realm, and potentials for Zelda games or Zelda spin-offs in that? Hmm. Um, I don't know if a mobile phone would be a good move for Nintendo actually, because they've always been very game centric. Well, not always, to be fair. They have ventured outside games on a few occasions in their history, but for the most part, they've been pretty game centric. And a mobile phone is pretty much of a stretch outside. I mean, sure, you can play games on your mobile phone, but that's not strictly speaking its main function. Is to be a phone, and the games are not. Or I guess depending on your usage, but they're at least secondary. So I'm not sure if a mobile phone would be a good move for them. I mean, I think it's an interesting move moving into the smartphone realm for them, but I'm not overly convinced that they're going to. Like, I think some people are expecting, a Mario game, Zelda game, or whatever, Metroid and things like that. I'm not convinced that's what they're going to do. I'm guessing what is more likely to be something like companions. You know what I mean? Like, not quite games, but just stuff where, like, imagine like Pokedex. Like I think they like to do things like that. Like apps that assist a game, but they're not necessarily going to be games themselves. That's my guess. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Of course, I have no idea what they're planning, but I just don't get it. I just get the feeling that whatever they do, it's not going to be like these fully fledged mobile games that they're not going to be competing with Angry Birds or the popular mobile games. What you got, like Candy Crush and so on. Not Age of Empires. What am I thinking of? Yeah, that Empire Clash. Yeah, Clash of Titans, I think, or Clash of Clans, Clash of some. Yeah, all those games. It's not going to be competing with any of those. That's what I think anyway. I've no insider knowledge. It's just what I'm guessing, that they're going to have some kind of. It's going to be a bunch of apps that just assist their main games. Because at the end of the day, you got to think about it. Like, if they start putting these fully fledged games on the mobile phone, on the smartphones, that are competing with the likes of Angry Birds and so on. I mean, sure, they can make money from it, especially if they have the microtransactions in there and all the ads and things. They can make money from it. They can make a lot of money from it, but it could have the potential to knock off the 3DS market. Well, not entirely, of course, because I think 3DS market is pretty, for the most part, different from the mobile gaming market anyway. But certainly, it could have the potential to cut into it in a significant manner. Maybe not cut out completely, but certainly cut into it. I mean, it depends, I guess, on why on the type of person plays it. But I think that's what they're thinking. That if they do a fully fledged game, how can this affect the 3DS sales? How can it affect what we do with 3DS? And that's why I'm a bit skeptical about them doing a fully fledged game. But we'll see. We'll see. What's up? uh, well, let's see. Cost of phones. Well, phones. Phones are interesting because I can remember when mobile phones would be like £4,000. They were ridiculously expensive, and yeah, No, it's just because the rich people had them, that's for sure. But there was more just because they were still fairly new at the time, and so they were quite expensive to produce and sell. So yeah, they would be like, 3,000, 4,000 pounds, and they were called car phones because they literally use a car battery, and they're quite massive. But this is going back a while. So mobile phones went from being really expensive to maybe like the late 90s, early 2000s, where they started to really, really come down in price and become much more accessible to just say the average person. So they went from really expensive to really cheap, and that seems like the average phone, especially smartphones, they tend to go up. Like uh, phones are going. Buying a phone would be like £300, £400. I think iPhones, if you were to buy them, they're like maybe £800, £900 sometimes. So it is interesting how that has changed. That was when it started off really expensive, went down, and it seems to be going up more and more expensive just for different reasons. And as far as Nintendo doing a mobile phone, I mean, clearly I think they do have the know-how to do it, and if they don't, they can employ it. It's not a difficult thing for them to do, I don't think. It's just, I don't know. Would you want a mobile phone with Nintendo on it? Is that because they're probably going to do some kind of crazy Wii stuff like the Wii phone, where I don't know, you have to like wave your hands to yeah. Yeah, you have to wave your hands in front of the screen to press the buttons on it. Like you can't just press the buttons on a pad. You got to wave up and down or some stupid nonsense. It's like I don't know what they'll do with a phone, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would be a good move for them. I guess you don't know until they actually do it. But it is a bit like. But then again, when Sony decided they're going to move into the video game market, so I think a lot of people, including myself, were like, "Sony doing video games? That's a stupid idea. They make TVs, they make VCRs, But then, well, they blew up. They did really well. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's time Nintendo tried their hand in a different form of electronics. So could be. Oh, well, it's possible, I mean, especially with Nintendo planning on moving into the mobile market. So it's certainly possible that they might consider, putting some of the older games on the iPhone or Android or whatever. And certainly, and I think it won't be much for a phone to run those games. They can run much more powerful games than that. So it wouldn't be a question of is it powerful enough. I mean, they could easily do it. Um, so it's certainly possible. Would they do it though? I mean. I guess with older games, it's not as big a risk to their business as newer games would be, because at this point, yeah, you've probably either already played Ocarina of Time or you don't particularly care for it. You've probably already played the first Zelda game or you don't particularly care for it. So having that nostalgia effect on the iPhone, it could actually work in their favor, especially if they don't bitch out the price. Like sometimes when they start doing the eShop, and a lot of the games a lot of these old games from like 10, 15, 20 years ago, they were selling for like really expensive. So as long as they don't do anything stupid like that, then it could work in their favor having these older games on the iPhone. I mean, if you look what happened with GTA, when they used to, Rockstar, when they put some of the older GTA games on iPhone, and they were smart with the pricing. They were only like, I think like £2 or something like that, £1 something or £2. They're really cheap. So yeah, it did well. I think as long as they don't try to be like, oh, we're Nintendo, people pay for the nose to have our 30-year-old games, because no, it won't. So as long as they're not stupid with the price, and they could work with them. It could work. Hmm. Yeah. Well, if you're buying a Nintendo phone, it's not. I mean, yes, if you're looking at okay, a Nintendo phone. Okay, you're gonna have Nintendo games there. Given that's pretty much a given. And Nintendo centric apps. That pretty much is a given. But what else can a Nintendo phone do? Because App Store is huge. Android is huge. So is it going to run on? It's not going to run on iOS. I mean, that much we can pretty much be sure on. So it's either going to run on Androids, Windows, or they're going to, or maybe some other third party OS, or they're going to do something, create their own OS. The third part, say anything other than Android and Windows, then you kind of, I mean, even Windows really. So let's be fair, anything other than Android, then you got a risk of just not having that many apps available for it. Windows is okay. Windows phones are okay. They're kind of coming up a little bit more now, but it's still quite low as far as apps concerned. Any other third party, if they even exist, they pretty much guarantee that they're not going to have anything on them. And then if Nintendo decides to do their own operating system, then yeah, it's like, okay, well, what again back to the whole third party thing about how can you get third party apps now? Nintendo with third parties, as they've proven, they don't really have a particularly good relationship. So yeah, you could buy a Nintendo phone and it could potentially be the absolute best phone in the world, but then what can you do with it outside of Nintendo stuff? The Vita's kind of, I don't know what's happening with the Vita at this point. Actually, I think Sony might have forgotten about the Vita, so they might just well be like, oh, well, Vita. What? Yeah, and I think the Vita actually means life. It's Latin for life, and it just has absolutely no life at all right now. It's just gone. And I like my Vita. I do. I think it's a great machine. It's an absolutely fantastic portable machine, but they're so lacking on games right now. It's just it's brutal. It's like I could go months and months and months without playing it sometime because what am I going to play with it? But it's just I've got some old games I can dig out, but I'm not going to keep going back to play older games. It's like I'm done with these, man. The only times I play it now is if I ever get the bus, and then if I get the bus anywhere, because I cycle most places, I rarely get the bus anymore. And when I do get a bus, it's like I have to remember to charge it beforehand because the battery's died out so much that you can't just pick up and go. I've got to make sure the battery's charged the night before. So I have to plan to play on the bus. That's how bad it is. It's pretty bad with the Vita right now. It's just, it's such a shame. It's a great machine, but yeah. Oh well. If they ever released a Mario game on the iPhone. Um, it's not a rumor I've heard, not specifically. I mean, apart from Nintendo planning on going into the mobile market, I haven't heard of any games they're planning on doing. I'd imagine they'll do something with the Mario brand because why not? It's their biggest, easily their biggest brand. It's their mascot. So I just, but all right, yeah, the company that's actually doing this stuff for them, yeah. Not particularly, no, no, no.